Kisuk Wisdom, Kisuk Kukit, Kisuk Quiet, Kapnishkish. Welcome back to another Warrior Wednesdays. I'm your host, Kenshuke Tashmiet. And this week, this past week actually, I'm still kind of getting over this cough, this cold that I caught not too long ago. I'm back to 100% energy. I just got a little bit of a cough, and a little bit of a raspy voice, chest thing going on still. But and this past week, I've really reflected on life. I've had two people that I know in my life, who I'm not really close to anymore per se, but there was a point in my life where I was close to them. And that's because, as you know, I used to live a different lifestyle before this. And these people that had passed away very, very young, like way too soon, in their early 30s, is they still were in that party scene. They would still drink and live that lifestyle. And it's sad to see two young indigenous people leave this world so early. But yet it also gives me more gratitude. It gives me more feeling of being grateful for my sobriety, and to think on how life could be drastically different if one single event didn't happen, and that's the same thing with your life. Your life could be drastically different if a certain event didn't happen, and sometimes it might even may have been the smallest event, but that smallest event could drastically transform your life. And I've talked about that before. 9/11 is such a profound thing, right? There's so many different stories on people with little events that took place during their morning that saved their lives. There was the father who had to take his children to school because his wife usually did it, and she couldn't do it that morning, so she basically forced her husband, who worked in the World Trade Center, to take their children to school. And he ended up getting stuck in traffic, and he was late, which saved his life. There was the intern who had to go downstairs and get coffee for everyone and breakfast. And on his way back up, he spills coffee on his white shirt. So he has to go home real quickly and change. There's the lady who wants to wear a new pair of heels. And on the way to work, she ends up getting a blister on her feet and having to turn around to go get different shoes. All these little events drastically change their lives. And the same thing with me with sobriety. You know, it was one little event at the time, but it's drastically transformed my life into who I am today. And I know if you sit there and ponder, you too can think of moments in your life that in the moment they seem very subtle. They're very small decisions, but yet they truly transformed who you are today. And moving forward, that's the way you should look at life. And I every morning since, you know, these past couple days, I've been extra grateful for my sobriety. You know, and I'm even grateful for growing up in the household I did. You know, I don't look at them as my adopted family. You know, they're my family to me. But in technical terms, you know, I'm grateful that I grew up in an adopted family, because my life might have been drastically different if I grew up with my real parents. You know, if I grew up with my real dad, or I grew up with my birth mom. I know for a fact I would have been a lot different of a life if I grew up with my birth mom. Because my birth mom, she grew up in the inner urban area of Seattle, Washington. And that's where I would have ended up ultimately growing up, because after my parents split up and my older brother had passed away when I was 2, she moved back to Seattle to be around her family. She moved back to the urban area, you know, the projects, the ghetto, you know. And if I had moved with her and grew up in that lifestyle, in that area, my life would be drastically different than it is today. Just one little event, one simple little event can drastically change your life. And I do forget that at times, you know, and I try to remind myself I'm human as well, you know. And sometimes I'll hit a red light and I'll get frustrated, but I just have to remind myself that, you know, maybe I hit that red light for a reason. Maybe I got stuck behind that slow driver for a good reason. Maybe this happened for a reason. You know, maybe I would have been in a car accident, and that car accident could have ended my life. Or, you know, I could have lost a limb, or something drastic happens. We never truly know. So I do get lost as well in life, and I know. And at point in times, I do forget about my sobriety, you know, because it's been so long. It's who I am now. But recently, I've just had more gratitude and gratefulness for that. You know, and when I hear about my old friends who pass on. And it's sad, but I still look at it like that could have been me. That could ultimately been me. And I know that for a fact because where I was before I got sober, I was going down a dark, depressing path. And there was points in that time, right around then, where I wanted to take my own life. I wanted to commit suicide. And that's not the answer, because suicide doesn't end your pain. It just only passes that on to other people. And it is selfish. And there was this lady who commented on one of my Instagram posts, and I was talking about suicide, saying that I shouldn't be shaming people into being here if they're choosing not to be. But in reality, I would rather shame someone and feel guilty for killing themselves, so they eventually can get the courage to get help, than not say anything and not do anything at all. And that's like that whole cows and buffalo saying, that we're creating a society that doesn't want to talk about hard things, that doesn't want to do the work, that doesn't want to put the effort in. And I get it, things are more easy accessible. You literally don't even have to leave your house now to get groceries, to get food, to do anything. Some people don't even have to leave their homes to work. You could literally do everything at home. And that's something new that we as a human society haven't experienced yet. Everywhere, doesn't matter where you come from. We come from people and generations and ancestors that had to work for their livelihood. Being a Tunaqa man, I knew that, knowing my community, that we were hunters and gatherers. You would have to go out and hunt and gather supplies and food to live, to survive. And that's how we are as a human society. We're meant to grow, we're meant to be active, we're meant to keep moving forward. But, with that instant gratification, microwave effect, people are forgetting that great things take work. Things don't just happen overnight. Sorry about that, but this is what, this is that awkward conversation of talking and I'm into a mic with a cough and a cold. Ultimately, it's not the nicest thing for someone to do, but I've made a commitment to keep posting on my podcast weekly, no matter what. And that's that hard work that you need to do in order to create the life that you want. And it's February. It's basically February now. And this is where people start to fall off of their New Year's resolutions, because they think it's going to happen instantly. They think it's gonna happen quickly when it doesn't. And I've been posting now on my podcast for almost a year now. And I generally only get about 80 to 110 listeners a week. And that's more than I'm grateful for, because my goal every day is to help one person each day. In some way, somehow, is to help one person a day. And if I'm reaching, 80 people, 100 people, and I'm changing 100 people's lives every day, well, I've already 100 times X'd my goal. And most people would just give up and say, well, I'm not blowing up, I'm not going viral, I'm not getting money offers and all this and blah 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 for my podcast. I'm not in the top 10 because this and that. And people give up. Doesn't matter what your goal is. And the big one is for people is to go to the gym and get in shape. They think it's gonna happen in a month or two. And they don't realize that it's a lifestyle change. It's a commitment. Anything you do in life is a commitment. Either you're committing to do it or you're not committing to do it. And that's why I've really never started a goal during New Year's resolution. Like I never really used to. I can't even remember a time where I actually made a New Year's resolution. Anytime I've ever done anything is in random times of the year. When things come to me, I work towards it, and I start it. With this podcast, I didn't start on New Year's or January 1st. When I got sober, I didn't start on January 1st. When I started going to the gym and working out and getting in better shape, I didn't start January 1st. When it came to me, I knew that was, that was a sign. And it came to me at that moment for that right reason. And that's when I decided to work on it. And that's the way you should be as well. When something comes to you and you really want to do it, just go for it. Just go after it. And take time to work towards it. Take time to create and learn and be in that atmosphere. And give it more than just a month. You might take some time to find your groove, to find who you are. And I've been dancing powwow now for about 6 years. And I feel like I'm just now where I'm at as a dancer, with my style. That I just feel like now that where I'm at, I've been practicing more. And I just feel like now where I'm at now is at a good level, And I always know that I'll always keep improving and pushing myself and improving. And there's always room for improvement. On this podcast, there's always room for improvement. In my fitness, there's always room for improvement. That's the way I look at life. There's always room for improvement. Nothing is perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect. So just go for it. And that's why people use that I'm a perfectionist as an excuse. It's because it's letting you It's allowing you not to go after it. Instead of just failing and learning and looking like you do, whatever you do, because you won't always be like that. Everyone has to start somewhere. So I know this podcast was kind of all over the place, but it's just been a good week to reflect. And maybe if you have set a New Year's resolution, this would be a good time to reflect on your goal. Sit back and say, hey, my goal was to lose some weight, or this and that. If your goal is the gym, just take a look and reflect on how much more energy you have if you've been sticking with it. Look at not at the big numbers, at the weight loss and all that stuff. Just look about how you feel. Reflect on that. How does that make you feel? Because I know posting these podcasts and posting my quotes and posting my content, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel grateful. So that's why I do it. I don't do it for all the likes and working towards getting, making this blow up. I do these things because they make me feel good. And at the end of the day, if something makes you feel good and it's not hurting someone, then you won. You've won at life. You're successful. That's what success looks like. Is being happy with the things that you do every day. Waking up and feeling grateful. Waking up alone is a massive win every day. So if you're waking up alive, you've already started your day off with success. Because there's over 100,000 people that were granted that today. Waking up alive. Or they won't go to bed alive. They won't make it to the end of the day. So I challenge you this week to take some time to reflect, to see if you are making it towards your New Year's resolution or you're furthering yourself from it. And then take that time to see what you can do to keep working towards that. So with that, I'm going to end this podcast. Sukani for tuning in on Winniget. And remember, everything always happens for the right reasons. I'll see you next Wednesday. Take care, all my wealthy warriors.